Hello everyone, welcome to session 6 of our Foundations course. We've been looking at our distinctives, what it means to be Baptist, and today we're going to be talking about religious liberty and religious freedom. You've heard me talk about this idea in past sessions. Today we're going to dig a little bit deeper, look at some of the history, and I hope you enjoy it. I want to thank you for joining me in my kitchen. We've been working from home over the past few weeks, and so here we are in my breakfast nook. So anyway, let's dig in. Now, a writer by the name of William Estep wrote this. He says, "It's impossible to define Baptists apart from their devotion to the principle of complete religious freedom." Now, if you look back at the history of the Baptist movement, you will see that every step along the way, Baptists have stood up for religious liberty. For instance, in 1612, Thomas Helwys said that the king should distance himself from interfering with religious matters. And so in a paper that he wrote called A Short Declaration of the Mystery of Iniquity, Thomas Helwys wrote this. He said, men's religion to God is between God and themselves. The king shall not answer for it. Neither may the king be judge between God and man. Let them be heretic, Turks, Jews, or whatsoever, it appertains not to the earthly power to punish them in the least measure. Now, in typical 17th century style, Thomas Helwys got thrown in prison for suggesting that the king should stay out of religious matters. Another example of how Baptists have stood up and have been an influence for religious liberty is actually found in the American Constitution. History tells us that two Baptists by the name of Isaac Backus and another by the name of John Leland actually had an opportunity to influence and provide counsel to some of the legislators who were writing the American Constitution. Now, it is through their influence that we have the First Amendment. It actually, First Amendment says this: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that the inclusion of religious freedom in the American Constitution is because of Baptist influence. Now, you'll also note that Baptists have stood up for complete religious liberty. Now, one of the criticisms that I've heard about Christianity is that others will say it doesn't matter what you believe as long as it's the same as us. Now, but these early Baptists weren't like that at all. As they stood up for religious liberty, they recognized that there is no religious liberty unless it is complete, unless it's across the board. Religious liberty needs to be extended to everyone, regardless of nationality, regardless of faith, regardless of belief, and regardless of practice. No matter who you worshiped or how you worship, Baptists believe that you should have the freedom to worship that way. Now, before we go, I want to share 5 things with you in regards to religious freedom. These are 5 measures or 5 things that we need to be concerned about as we uphold this fundamental Baptist value. First one is this: we need to guard religious freedom. Pastor Cal writes it this way. He says, eternal vigilance is the price of freedom, including religious freedom. It only takes a generation or two to lose by neglect what many generations gained through sacrifice. Second thing is this: we need to continue the efforts for religious freedom. Many people around the world do not have religious liberty. Persecution by religious and governmental authorities continues to exist, and we as Baptists need to stand up for those people who cannot exercise religious liberty. The next thing is this: we need to act responsibly with religious freedom. With this freedom comes a tremendous responsibility. We are responsible for our actions and our decisions. The next thing is this: we need to uphold the separation of church and state. Religious freedom is the friendly separation of religious organizations and governmental authority. Baptists have championed this concept and need to continue to do so. And we need to use our freedom for the benefit of others. Paul wrote this. He said, "You have been called into liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another." So we're supposed to use our freedom not in a selfish way, but to minister to the needs of people throughout the world. So as you know, Cornbrook Baptist is part of the Canadian Baptists of Atlantic Canada. And here's what the CBAC says about religious freedom. It says, Baptists have championed the right to freedom in spiritual matters under the lordship of Jesus Christ. They believe there must exist a separation between church and civil governments. There should not be a church-controlled state, nor a state-controlled church. God has given legitimate roles to both, but neither is to encroach upon the rights or obligations of the other. They are, however, under obligation to recognize and reinforce each other as each seeks to fulfill its divine function. So as we close today, I have 3 questions for you. The first one is this. Would you be willing to defend religious liberty for those who are not telling the truth? Why or why not? Number 2, are there any limitations upon religious liberty? And if there are, what would you offer as examples? And thirdly, can you identify any incidents in Canada, anything that you're aware of where the state government denies the church religious liberty? How should Baptists deal with these matters?